My name is Mikkel White. I'm the pastor of the South Lansing campus of Sycamore Creek Church. It's great to see you at church in a zoo this morning. We do have plenty of space here at the other end of the hall or whatever this is, so feel free to come on in, grab a seat. We like to start our services with a little bit of audience interaction, and so we have a shout-out question for you this morning. What are your Memorial Day traditions? What do you like to do this weekend? Bonfire. What'd you say? Up north. I was hearing popcorn, and I was like, that doesn't make sense as a tradition, but okay, to each their own. I love to go to Lake Michigan if I can. Anybody else? Yeah, oh, sorry. I meant anybody else have traditions, but I love that you guys like to go to Lake Michigan as well. All right, we have a couple of songs to sing this morning from some of our band at South Lansing. If you feel like standing, feel free to, but feel free to sit down, and let's worship together.
If you need to warm up, stand and jump.
Never enough.
so good to have these big services where we're all together as a family. I love it. You guys have amazing energy this morning. Caleb and I appreciate it. We're not used to being up here all by ourselves. This next song is one of my favorites that we do over at South Lansing. Sometimes life is hard, and it is good to know that God is for us and not against us. So I hope you'll join me in this one.
You guys rock. Can I get a high five? Give it up one more time. Caleb and Jen rocking it out today. If everyone wants to have a seat, you can stay standing if you want to and get a good leg workout in for the day or something like that. You can do. I'm okay with it. Anyways, my name is Eric. Hello, nice to meet you. I am the co-host for today, and I look very chilly in that, but it's beautiful out today, right? Oh my gosh. And it's so cool to look out and see South Lansing and Potterville and Eastwood all mixed together. This is truly a beautiful day. Yeah. Just a couple little housekeeping things. We do have, so we're in here. The bathrooms are right downstairs if you do need them. If anyone wants to, we filled in pretty nice. If anyone does want to move down or use the other side of picnic tables, you certainly can. But it looks like everyone's pretty well situated, doing good. We do have busy bags for the kiddos in case they're getting a little squirrely, if you need that. And then lastly, if you want to hang out afterwards, people are bringing a lunch, people will hang out. We did get the parking. Unfortunately, we didn't get entry into the zoo. If you want to go to the zoo, that's a whole other thing, and that's awesome. But yeah, so that's about it on that. If you have your program with you, pull out your connection card and wave it around. This is the perfect way for us to connect with you and you to connect with us. And there's a little bonus with it. So I guess for right now, just fill out your name and your email address. If you can put anything else on that front sheet that you want to. But really do fill this out because at the end of service, we are going to be doing a drawing for 4 tickets to the zoo today. So you might get that and might be able to go to the zoo for free. That's a little bonus. Here at Sycamore Creek, we love to do selfies. So I will do mine as well here. Pull out your phone, post it to your social media of choice. And yeah, and you could get a chance to win a $5 Bigby card from that. Our selfie of the week this week, highlight is Kathy Doby. I saw her here. There she is. And this is a self-care selfie. I know Kathy very well, and she loves golfing. It is certainly one of her self-care things. And here she is golfing on it there, which is so cool. Today, we are continuing our message. This is the second week of our message on sacred self-care. Today, it is on honoring emotions, and our message today begins with this.
Self-care isn't selfish. It's sacred. Reclaim rest, renewal, and wholeness as acts of faithful discipleship. Join Sycamore Creek for this 4-week series to break free from burnout and embrace God's call to holistic well-being. Your soul needs a rest. Let's find it together.
Well, good morning again. My name is Mikkel White. I'm the pastor of the South Lansing campus of Sycamore Creek Church. I said that earlier, but maybe not everybody got that, and that's totally fine. As Eric said, there is more seating down here, especially if you're willing to sit on this side of the picnic tables. There's more seating down here. Now, before we get started today, I had this idea that I was going to invite you to have some sort of introspective moment where everybody got quiet and closed their eyes, and then I remembered we would be here, and that would probably not work. So, in as much as you're able, I do want to invite you just to check in with yourself. What are you feeling today? What are you feeling this morning? What emotions are coming up for you today? I have a sense of some joy to be here with you. This is exciting to see you. I also have some sadness that's lingering in me from lost friendships. What are you feeling this morning? Many of us grew up in homes or in situations where we weren't taught to identify our emotions. We weren't given tools to understand and feel our feelings. We didn't have emotion wheels. Some of you don't even know what emotion wheels are. We didn't have emotion wheels up in our homes. Some of us, it went a step further than that. And we were taught to be suspicious of our emotions. We were taught that we couldn't trust them, We are taught maybe even that emotions are weak and for women. And maybe you're wondering, okay, how woo-woo is this going to get today? Well, you know, I am a woman, so brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. All right, so all of this message is based on this premise that our God, the God we worship, is a feeling God. God is a feeling God. We look to Jesus, who is God in the flesh, and Jesus wept. Jesus experienced anger. Jesus experienced joy. Jesus experienced longing. These are all words of feeling. And they reflect a God who feels, a God who made us in God's image, so we are feeling beings. We feel just like our God feels. Okay, so the good news for you all this morning, some of you are really distracted by all the stuff that's happening right now. We like to have chat questions and give you a chance to talk it out. So I'm even going to have a 4-minute timer. You have 4 minutes to talk about this chat question. This chat question is, what kind of messages did you get about emotions when you were growing up? Now, you don't have to talk about this chat question. I'm not going to go around and check your work, right? You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I'm going to have 4 minutes on the timer, so turn to the people who are at your table and take some minutes to talk about it. All right. I hope you had some good conversation. This morning, we're continuing our series, Sacred Self-Care. We're continuing the series we started last week called Sacred Self-Care. It's based on a book by Dr. Shaniqua Walker Barnes. Just so you know, I'm leading a small group on this book with Pastor Sunrisa Cortez. She's the MSU director, the Wesley director at MSU. And that starts a week from tomorrow. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up through our groups and events catalog on your connection card. This series is part of a series of series that we're doing based on the Sermon on the Mount. And so for these 18 months, our series are inspired by topics that we find in this famous sermon from Jesus in Matthew chapter 5 through 7. And for this series, we're looking to some of the words he said in chapter 6, where he describes how the birds of the air are fed and the flowers of the earth are clothed, and he encourages us to be present to our current lives by not obsessively worrying about the future. He says, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. Today's trouble is enough for today. In other words, resist the urge to obsess over the future, to relentlessly work for some kind of goal in the future, to just be driven by anxiety. Find ways to be present in the here and now. It's sort of like an invitation to a presence practice. And presence practice can be a form of self-care. And self-care is our focus for this series. Last week, we began with a foundation of self-care, and we learned that self-care isn't selfish, it's actually sacred. Self-care is sacred. And this week, we're going to explore one element of self-care, which is honoring our emotions. Honoring our emotions. Because when we're whole, when we're at peace within ourselves, we have alignment in our emotions, in our thoughts, in our behaviors, in our bodily experiences. I recently started meeting with a new coach, and she will listen to me describe some of the challenges I'm facing and then ask me questions, helping me to think, what do I already know is the path forward here? And she said that she's going to ask me questions about my feelings and my thoughts and my bodily experiences, because if I'm out of alignment, if one of those things is wildly different than the other two, there's a sign that something needs to be tended. She said for herself that she can feel like she's going just like normal, everything's good, and then she realizes she has some tension in her neck and her shoulders, and she needs to go see a chiropractor or a massage therapist. And that's a sign. It's like a warning sign, a check engine light for her body that says something is actually needs some tending here. Or, as Dr. Shaniqua Walker Barnes puts it, emotions are not the enemy of reason. They are companions to it. Emotions are not the enemy of reason. They're companions to it. So we're going to talk today about some emotions that we tend to shy away from, some emotions that we tend to avoid. And then I'm going to give you some practices for honoring your emotions. And we're going to start first with joy and then with anger. And this is where Dr. Walker Barnes starts, and to be honest, it kind of surprised me. Joy? That's a fun emotion. I like feeling joy. Why is this something that I might shy away from? And the answer is because it's vulnerable. Exuberant joy is vulnerable. In fact, there's a story I want to tell you from the Old Testament, from 2 Samuel. It's about a person named Michal. Not that one. Actually, this one. She was Saul's daughter and David's first wife, King David's first wife. And King David was working to protect the Ark of the Covenant and to restore it to its intended location. And the Ark of the Covenant, in some places that might be called the Lord's chest, in a verse we're about to look at, it held the presence of God. It was a sacred relic. And King David was working to put it back where it belongs. And so he brought the ark back to Jerusalem, and then he rejoiced. And it says, as the Lord's chest entered David's city, Saul's daughter Michal was watching from a window. She saw King David jumping and dancing before the Lord, and she lost all respect for him. She pulled him aside and attempted to shame him for his exuberant joyfulness. Now, maybe you've never overseen the movement of an ancient sacred religious artifact. But I bet that you have been shamed for your exuberant joy. I bet that maybe you've even shamed someone else for their exuberant joy. Something like you can't stop laughing in the middle of class and your teacher calls you out in front of everybody. Or you get super excited about a new exhibit at the zoo and none of your friends care and they keep moving you along. Worst of all, we tend to internalize those messages of shame and we self-censor. We shut ourselves down. As Dr. Walker Barnes put it, we become our own Mikkel. Now for you, that's metaphorical. For me, that's literal and also metaphorical, right? We have another chat question here for you to reflect on this idea of joy and what it means to be filled with exuberant joy. So here it is. When was the last time you felt joy? What would it feel like to experience exuberant, full-bodied joy? And what keeps you from feeling that? Again, I'm not going to check your work. Talk about what you want to, but we're going to have 4 minutes on the timer, so turn to someone around you and have a conversation. All right. So you've gotten the chance to talk about joy and what brings you joy, what keeps you from feeling joy. We're going to move now to talking about a different emotion that's sometimes difficult for us, and that is anger. Anger. And we're remembering here, right, that emotions are not the enemy of reason. They're companions to it. There's a place in the New Testament where the Apostle Paul is writing a letter to the church in Ephesus, and he says, after you've gotten rid of lying, each of you must tell the truth to your neighbor because we are parts of each other in the same body. Be angry without sinning. Don't let the sun go down on their anger. It's really fun to be here with lots of kids and have they're exuberant in their joy. They're showing us what it is to be exuberant in their joy. All right, but turning back to anger, because sometimes they also teach us how to be angry well. I didn't mean to go there, but all right. Anger is not inherently sinful. Anger by itself is not bad. It's not like the absence of joy or the absence of optimism or hope. It's not the enemy of unity and fellowship. Anger is inescapable in Christian fellowship. Maybe you didn't hear that. I'm going to say that again. Anger is inescapable in Christian fellowship. Anger is kind of like a flame. Anger is like a flame. It can warm you, it can cook things, it can sanitize things, and it can also burn and blister and destroy. The problem is not the flame itself. The problem is how we use it, what boundaries we put around it, how we contain it. Anger is a normal and natural emotion. It's a natural reaction to a perceived threat. It's part of the fight, flight, freeze response that God hardwired into our nervous systems. Anger is a signal that something is wrong and it needs tending. A lot of the time, anger is a secondary emotion that covers up fear or hurt. Fear or hurt are often feel more vulnerable to express. And so this is sort of like a defense mechanism that we have. I'm not going to reveal the vulnerability of my fear or my hurt, and instead I'm going to express anger. So once we no longer need that anger to survive, in other words, once our nervous systems can come out of that space, we can begin to approach our anger with some gentle curiosity. We can ask, what triggered my anger? Why is it here? How does this anger impact my body? How does this anger impact my behavior? What lesson is it teaching me? And what do I need to give my anger to heal in this moment? We don't need to suppress the anger. And we also don't need to make it bigger than it is. We just need to honor it, be curious about it. And I think joy and anger together can be cultivated alongside each other for us to become more healthy. Dr. Walker Barnes says that joy can be a powerful companion to anger. It can set boundaries around anger, just like a flame, right? Like you need boundaries around a flame. Joy can set boundaries around anger, diffuse it, direct it to an appropriate outlet. Intentionally seeking joy in the aftermath of anger can be a way of telling ourselves, thanks for signaling that something was wrong and that I needed protection. Now that I'm safe, I'm going to soothe the leftover pain by seeking out joy. Joy and anger can be companions to each other. So we've explored these two emotions, anger and joy, and now we're going to shift and talk about some practices that we can develop to honor our emotions. And the first one is to anticipate the things that are hard. Have you ever heard that adulthood saying, but after this week, everything will slow down a bit, over and over, until you die? We delude ourselves into thinking that it's about to get better. We also probably all have like stressful events or situations that recur, and every time it was really stressful last time, but it's not going to be stressful this time. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And then it's not. My husband is a high school teacher. He became a high school teacher a couple of years ago, and so we're still adjusting to these new rhythms and trying to figure out what seasons, what times of the year are super stressful, like the last couple of weeks of school. Do you know that there's 9 days left in the school year? Because I do. Right? One practice that we can develop to care for ourselves is to anticipate these seasons, to stop deluding ourselves into thinking, well, it's going to be better this time. This year, it's going to be better. The past 3 years have been super stressful, but surely this one will be fine. It'll be fine. No, it's probably still going to be stressful, right? We got to stop deluding ourselves. So this doesn't mean to just work up stress for the future, right? We're not just trying to be anxious about everything, but it's anticipating and accommodating our human limitations. I'm going to give you a couple of ways that we can do this. First, adjust your schedule. If you know, we know the next couple of weeks are going to be hard, and also I'm a pastor and I have a conference that I have to go to at the end of this coming week. I can't get out of that. So what can we do? We can say no to extra things. We can say, we're not going to commit to this extra thing. We're going to even cancel some plans. We're going to adjust our schedule to make sure that we are not too overcommitted. We can ask for help. Now, we don't need a meal train for this week, but in other times of our lives, we have. In other times of our lives, like when my kids were smaller, we would invite my parents or his parents to come and be with us so that we had an extra set of adults on hand. We had to ask for help. Account for meals. Okay, you guys with little kids, the meals are a big deal. Cooking, planning meals 3 times a day, it's a lot. And so some things that you can do, you can cook and freeze ahead of time. You can meal plan so that decision-making work is done before in a non-stressful time. You can budget for takeout. You got to account for the meals. And the last thing is you add to your calendar. Now, this seems a little counterintuitive, but what I mean is that before or after that stressful event, you add in time to recover. You plan a walk with your friend. You take the day off. You say, these 4 hours, this day, whatever it is, I'm going to not do any work. I'm going to recover. Maybe if you have the resources for it, you might add an appointment with your therapist or your chiropractor or your massage, whatever. Add in things like that as you need to rest and recover. Essentially, this is just paying attention to the rhythms that are already there in your life and accepting your own human limitations. And then doing what you can, and a lot of times we need our community to do this well, to care for yourself. This is the moments I like to say, thanks, past me. You were looking out for me. I don't know. I like to say that. It helps me to acknowledge the times that I did something for myself. Sometimes I need to celebrate that. All right, I've got another chat question for you. Are there seasons in your life related to your work or your family or something else that are predictably stressful? What are they? How do you or could you prepare for those seasons? Again, we're going to have 4 minutes. Turn around and have a conversation with someone. talked some about joy and about anger. We've talked about one way that we can begin to care for our emotions, to honor ourselves, or honor our emotions and care for ourselves. We've got a couple more practices that I want to share with you. First is find reasons to laugh. Find reasons to laugh. That old adage, laughter is the best medicine, there's some truth to it. Like, laughter is being studied as an intervention for mental and physical health issues. So stop and think about the last time that you laughed out loud, that you had a full belly laugh. What prompted it? How could you develop more of that? For me, hanging out with funny people who laugh a lot is a key. Sitting around a table with my friends and coming up with silly or snarky things that you can put on a nameplate. I'm just pretending to care. World's okayest boss. This is funny to me. Not world's okayest boss, although that is funny too. But these nameplates are funny to me. Sometimes it's just the look that you give your friend when you just know. You know what they're thinking. We know. Sometimes it's hearing the punchline of a new joke. You're welcome. Now, let's be clear. Laughter is not a curative. It will not vanquish depression or anxiety or hypertension, but it can reduce stress hormones that are associated with multiple illnesses and poor health conditions. Laughter also increases endorphins, which relieve pain and distress. So you may be in a season where intentionally seeking a good laugh every day could be really healing. It's that pursuit and the cultivation of joy. All right, so we talked about anticipating the hard, finding reasons to laugh. One more practice you can develop to honor your emotions is to cultivate play and creativity. Do you remember when you packed up your childhood toys? You sold the box of trains, you gave away the bin of dolls, you put away the dress-up clothes or the action figures. What prompted that? Maybe your parents or your older siblings or even your friends were why are you still playing with toys? That's kind of a little kid thing to do. Are you still a little kid? Is there a set time that childhood toys get put away? When someone's not a child anymore, when we grow out of play and creativity? Dr. Walker Barnes says that humans, it seems, are the only mammals that outgrow play. During early adolescence, we become self-conscious about looking silly, childish, or worst of all, uncool. We stop playing anything except video games, sports, and musical instruments. Why do we think that we outgrow play and creativity? All right, I don't know how to tell you this story. I'm a little embarrassed about it. When I was in college, I randomly, I got into a My Little Pony kick. I had this pony. This is Shenanigans. This is not my pony, but I had this one. I got decorations for my dorm room. I got a Christmas ornament that I still have. My sister, at the same time, got into Care Bears, so there must have been something going on in our lives. I don't really 100% know. When I think back to that time, we also got an Easy Bake Oven, by the way, for our dorm. That was fun. I have mixed emotions about telling you this or about reflecting on it. Part of me is embarrassed by it. And I think maybe you'll tease me about this. This was a childish thing that I was doing in college. And at the same time, I feel I think I was recovering some part of my childhood that I felt I had missed out on. And so there was something healing there for me. What are ways that you can learn to grow and play now? For a lot of people, myself included, there's Legos. I feel I saw Legos over here somewhere. I love the botanicals collection because they're flowers, and then I feel I can display them, and I don't look like a weirdo who has a basement full of Legos. Not that I'm shaming anybody else's exuberant joy, but maybe. Okay. Maybe it's trying something new that you're not good at. just for the fun of it, like painting. I like to play with watercolor paint, and I'll make like bookmarks and other stuff like that, but it's really just like a blob of color, and then I draw in stuff around it, like pumpkins or popsicles or something like that. That's what I got. It's fun. It's not something I'm very good at, but I enjoy doing it, and I feel pretty good about the product sometimes, So creativity and play are important practices for honoring our emotions and cultivating joy. And the practice of doing something that you're not very good at, hear me on this. The practice of doing something that you're not very good at is an exercise in not demanding perfection from yourself. The practice of doing something you're not very good at is an exercise in not demanding perfection for yourself. It's another way to honor your emotions and to care for yourself. This is really hard for a lot of us, but it's an important practice. Okay, I have one more question for discussion, one more chat question for you. What kinds of things make you laugh out loud? And what is a way that you like to engage in creativity or play? We're gonna have 4 minutes. Have a conversation with someone around you. now that you've solved all of your self-care problems, emotions are not the enemy of reason. They're companions to it. You can't really be fully human without your human emotions. Healthy emotional expression, along with physical and mental health, is what makes a healthy person. And it's part of what it means to be made as a human in God's image. We need that full spectrum of human emotions to be whole. We're not meant to be ruled by our emotions, right? We're not meant to simply follow our emotions and seek self-fulfillment like willy-nilly. We got to take some time to process them and think about them, but we can develop this awareness of our emotions and then give ourselves space to express those emotions in healthy ways. And this can build us up in community, in connection with each other. In fact, I don't think we can actually really do this on our own. This kind of self-care will only really be successful in community. Our collective peace is bound to our personal peace. So honor your emotions, all of them. Honor your emotions and pursue peace in community because our collective peace is bound to our personal peace. So this is important work, full of the heaviness of joy and grief, the heaviness of grief and anger, and the levity of joy and play. And it's just one of the ways that we try to live into what Jesus said in that Sermon on the Mount, to not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. To wrap up this message this morning, I want to share with you a prayer that Dr. Walker Barnes includes in the end of this section. Let's pray together. Loving God, you have revealed yourself to us through the Holy Scriptures as one who feels deeply, who acts on your feelings, and who invites us to connect with you through our joy, our sadness, our anxiety, and even our anger. Help us to properly steward the gift of emotions, to be angry without sinning, to nurture joy and peace, to delight in play and creativity, and to care for all of creation in the way that you care for us. Amen.
Man, thank you, Michelle, for that message. Always appreciate it, especially, it's so important to remember to honor your emotions like that. So, if you could pull out that connection card one more time and flip it over to the back for the next steps on there, and I will kind of go through them as you get out a nice little pen and check them off, whatever you want to do. So, the first one being, actually, there's another thing, the Summer Groups and Events Catalog. If you want to pull that out and take a look through it, there are tons of groups and events and everything you could think of that you would want to be a part of at Sycamore Creek. Or you can scan that cool QR code there. I will shamelessly plug my events, which are a men's group that is meeting, it'll say Thursdays, but it's Tuesdays. Don't worry about that. I'll tell you about it. Anyways, or Nathan White and I are doing a bonfire group that meets on Wednesdays. And if you want to honor the emotion of disappointment, you can sign up for that one because sometimes it gets rained out and we have to send sad emails like last week and then maybe this week as well. Anywho, past that, at the bottom there, if you are interested in volunteering for Juneteenth, we are, if that's something that's on your heart, either you can go to LansingJuneteenthCelebration.org or you can check on our connection card, and Tom and Mikkel, not Mikkel, they won't both do it, we'll get a hold of you and give you more details in terms of what that looks like. And lastly, summer is coming up. Can we all get a cheer for that? Yeah, summer is almost here. I see people in hats and gloves right now, and that won't be a thing soon, hopefully. But all the times in July, we will not be worshiping at our campuses. We'll be worshiping at Regal Cinema, which is in the Lansing Mall, which will be really cool. And then over Labor Day weekend, we won't be there. We will be at Lansing Shuffle for that. So don't come to the campuses. It'll be super awkward. The doors will be locked. You'll be sad. It'll be a whole thing. So check off those next steps and go ahead and, if you would, go ahead and put that connection card into the blue bucket. That's the way to partner with us. Another way to partner with us is financially. Our mission here, as you might know, is to ignite authentic life in Christ and fan it into an all-consuming flame. And that is a way that you can partner with us in that mission. We're able to do cool stuff like this, and another cool thing that we were able to do is the key leaders were able to get together at the Eastwood campus, and we were able to talk about our mission for the year, our goals for the year, and talk about how those are going, and what we need and what support we need to move forward from that. Put that in the blue bucket, and other than that, I don't think there's anything else. We will take up the blue buckets in the second song, so you do have a little bit of time to make some notes. And I will say at the bottom there is a spot for prayer requests. So if you are needing prayer, please check the box and put some prayer in there. People will be praying prayer requests. So if you are needing prayer, please check the box and put some prayer in there. People will be praying for you, which is a really cool thing. We'll do the drawing right afterwards for those 4 tickets in case you were really itching to go straight to the zoo afterwards and go see the anteater. I think the anteater's fake, by the way, so if you see it in there, prove me wrong, but I think it's a fake exhibit, so that's what all right, anywho, if you guys want to rock some songs, I will get out of your way here.
I think, do we have one more shout out question? Oh, we're going to do that at the end, and so I'll just sing. Yeah. Oh, for 1,000 times to sing my great Redeemer's praise, the glories of my God and King, the triumphs of His grace. My gracious Master and my God, assist me to proclaim, to spread through all the earth abroad the honors of Thy name. So come on, sing out, let our anthem roll loud. There is one great love, Jesus. Jesus, the name that charms our fears, that bids our sorrows cease. 'Tis music to the sinner's ear, 'tis life and help and peace. Okay, now I know what happened sorry, but I don't have the words. I got it. All right, so we're going to start that second verse over again. I love church in a zoo. Jesus, the name that charms our fear, that bids our sorrows cease. His music to the sinners ears, His life and help and peace. He breaks the power of canceled sin, He sets the prisoners free. His love can make the fountains clean, His love availed for me. Let's sing out. So come on, sing
All right. It's the time you've been waiting for. I'm going to tell you that, give me a drum roll. Give me a drum roll. Here we go, here we go. Dave and Sue Connectus. Okay, she told me to draw again. Draw again. Marion Wilson. Is she still here? I'll find her. Marion and Paul, you won the tickets to the zoo. There's 4 tickets in there. They're good for a year. They're good for a year, and there's 4 tickets in there.
Okay, well, we can arrange the line or something.
Yeah. All right. Woo! All right, thanks for joining us this morning. I hope you'll come back next week. We'll be at our campuses next week as we continue the series with an episode on caring for our minds. I hope that you'll stick around for lunch. If you packed a lunch, we'll be here for a little bit. We've got bottled water. Feel free to hang out. As you go, we have a question for you to turn around and continue talking to your neighbors if you'd like to do that. We'd love for you to do that. What's your favorite zoo exhibit? Oh, turn around and tell somebody else. Have a conversation. And until next week, be curious, be creative, and be compassionate. Go in peace.
Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony to my ears. It's like holy water. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips.